Hello students. So today we will be studying one more poem from your book Beehive, and the name of the poem is A Legend of Northland, okay, by Phoebe Carey. So before we begin, let us have a small introduction, brief introduction about who Phoebe Carey was. So she was actually an American poetess of the belonging to the 19th century. She was born in 1824, and she, along with her sister name was Alice Carey. So they both used to write different poems. And after their death, their both the sisters' poems were compiled together and published as collection of poems in different volumes. So this A Legend of Northland was one of those collected poems. Now, regarding the type of poem, what kind of poem it is, this poem, you can call this poem as a ballad. Ballad means what? Ballad is a type of poem narrating a story. So as you can as you know that what is a fable are stories with animal characters are having a moral lesson, that is stories. So those stories can be even made as poems, so that is different. But here ballads are obviously they are poems, but these poems talks about a type of story, a kind of legendary story. So here also this poem is about Saint Peter. One incident happened with Saint Peter, how Saint Peter went to meet some means went someone's door, and there the act of selfishness is reflected, how the person can be so selfish, and because that person was so selfish, that person also eventually gets punished for the selfishness. So in this way there is a story. This story was very common in the European folklore. So this story has been represented in a poem written by Phoebe Carey. Now let us have a brief introduction about a character here. That character is the character is very important for this poem. The character is Saint Peter. We are going to have a legendary story about Saint Peter. So who was Saint Peter? We first need to know. Jesus Christ, when Jesus Christ was spreading his ideas of Christianity, so Jesus Christ had 12 disciples, main 12 disciples. Disciple means the students who used to follow Jesus. Jesus' actual follower, the true followers of Jesus, they were 12 in numbers. And after Jesus' death, okay, those 12 followers, they had the responsibility of whatever Jesus taught them. They were also kind of big saint people, because they were after all the disciple of Jesus. So Jesus taught them about many philosophies of life, so they also got that divine power. They were also bestowed with that sainthood title. So they had that duty to whatever Jesus had taught them, they need to spread that knowledge everywhere. So they were in charge of spreading Christianity. So one of those disciples, one of those 12 disciples was Saint Peter. So Saint Peter was also a holy man who was a direct disciple of Jesus Christ. He was a saint, he had divine powers, and his main purpose was to spread Christianity everywhere, wherever possible. So in this way, he was having a journey, he was making a journey in the northern side of the world, in the northern part of Europe. There he comes across a lady who is very selfish. So this who was very selfish. So this story, this entire poem is based on that legendary story of Saint Peter. So let us start the poem. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So it is about a land not in the northern side, it is called Northland. The land name is Northland, where the hours of the day are few, means their day is very short, nights are longer, day is very short. Okay, for just for few hours they get the daylight, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. They have such long nights that they can't spend the entire night by sleeping. Here, what we do, the nights are short, so we just spend the night by sleeping. We sleep at night and we cover the entire night. But there, the nights are so long that people get tired of sleeping, so they can't even spend the night by sleeping. And throughout the season, they had winter. Okay, because it was a very cold place, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bear cubs in their funny furry clothes. So here the poet is telling that what the people used to do, people used to harness the swift reindeers. They used to domesticate the deer animals, means the reindeer, the mountain deers, they are called the reindeer. So they used to domesticate the reindeers because they use them for their locomotion, they use there for their transport. They would be like tying the sledges, the sledge carts with the reindeers, just like Santa Claus. So they will be tying the sledges, the carts with the reindeers, and the reindeers will be running and will be carrying them. Instead of horses, they used reindeers. And children, they were very funny looking, because from a distance, whoever the children they used to play there, they would look like, they will appear like small beer cubs. Okay, because they will be wearing like furry dresses, like complete bulky and puffed up kind of figures, because cold is there, so automatically children will be having more cold experience, so children will be always covered with furry clothes, and the furry clothes are so furry that from a distance they appear like bear cubs. They tell them a curious story. I don't believe it's true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. So in that area, means in Northland, they used to tell a story like folklore. It's a folklore. So they had a folklore in them, that is a common folklore. They used to tell that story to everyone, all the children. Okay, and the poetess is telling that I don't believe it's true. Maybe it's just a story. Maybe it's imaginary story. Okay, I don't know how much true it is. And yet, if you may learn a lesson, if I tell the tale to you, maybe the story is believable, maybe the story is not believable, something imaginative also. But if I tell you the story, you will have some moral lesson from the story, you will learn something. Okay, so here, whether the story is true or not, that is not important, but learning a lesson from that story, that what matters. Once, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it, preaching just as he did, he came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. So the story begins here, that once there, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below, when Saint Peter was living. So Saint Peter, he was a very good saint, he was living in the world at that time. It is a story of that past, so many years ago, when Saint Peter was living, and he used to walk everywhere. Okay, he used to walk and he used to reach many places for preaching Christianity. He used to spread Christianity. He was doing his work. At that time, he came to the door of a cottage. One day, he just came knocking in someone's door, someone's cottage door. In traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the earth. So whose door he came? He came to the door of a woman who was actually a baker. Her work is to make cakes and buns. Okay, so she was doing her regular bakery work when Saint Peter arrived her home and knocked at her door. Baking them on the hearth means that area where heat is provided, the oven. The traditional oven is called hearth. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So Saint Peter was very hungry because he had been traveling a long distance throughout the day. So he was extremely tired, he was almost fainting, and he was hungry. So he just requested her that, would you please give me one cake from your collection? You have so many cake. Can you just give me one single cake so that I can satisfy my hunger? He requested. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, he looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Now, as the person has come requesting her a cake, she thought that, okay, fine, I'm making you a cake, but she is so selfish that she refused to give a already baked cake. She decided that she will make a cake. And she purposely made the cake very little with a very small dough. She tried to bake a very small dough to make a very little cake for Saint Peter, because she was very miser. She was very selfish. But when she was baking the cake, that small dough cake, to her it appeared as if it's a very big cake. It's too big. Okay, then she felt greedy on that cake, that it has become so big that if I give this cake, then you will get a lot of cake. Better I make another cake. So she, even after making the cake from a small dough, it appeared to her as if a big cake. Okay, that was her selfish nature. Therefore, she refused to give it away. Therefore, she needed another. She again thought, okay, like I will make another cake. She needed another, and still a smaller one. Already she made a smaller cake, but this time, the next time, the second time, she made more smaller, a much more smaller cake. But it looked, when it turned it over, as large as the first had done. But when she was baking this second dough also appeared to her as if bigger, like similarly bigger like the first one. So that means she was not able to give it away to Saint Peter. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer, but she couldn't part with that. Then what she did, she just took a very tiny, like a scrap bit of her dough, like very small. It's not a dough at all. It is just a scrap of dough, and she rolled it very flat like a chapati. She made it like very thin and flat like a chapati, and baked it thin as a vapor. And when she given it for baking, it became just like a vapor, like a chips, like a big chip, like a papad. Okay, it became like a wafer, as large. But she couldn't part with that. But still, even after that, even after making it so small and so thin, just like a wafer, she was not able to give it to that poor saint. For she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself, and yet too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. So she is so selfish. Her selfishness is reflected by this dialogue of her. She is telling that my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself, means these cakes which I make, it appears to me very small when I am consuming the cake by myself. Means when she is eating the cake, she feels that these cakes are so small. But when the time comes for her to give the cake to someone else, at that time she feels the cakes are so big. How can I give such a big piece to someone else? Okay, that is her selfish nature. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Now Saint Peter, he was already very hungry, and he had to wait so long, and the woman's stupid behavior and selfish nature made him very angry. He got very frustrated, and she was such a woman, and her behavior was such that even a good saint like Peter would become angry and upset on her. And he said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. So you are a very selfish woman, he shouted. He finally he lost control of his temper and he shouted that you are such a selfish woman that you don't deserve to be in a human form. Okay, you have got a human life, you are privileged to get a human life, but your nature is so wicked, so selfish that you don't deserve this human life. And you are getting both food and shelter, you don't have to worry at all. You have food, you have shelter, but you don't deserve any of it. And you are also having a fire that keeps you warm in this kind of place. Okay, you are having everything, you are a human, you are having food, you are having shelter, you are having fire, but you deserve none of it because you are a very selfish and wicked woman. Now you shall build as birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boarding and boarding and boarding all day in the hard dry wood. Now he cursed the woman, that now, till now you have lived a human life which you do not deserve, Now I am cursing you that you will have to build your home by yourself as birds do. Birds had to build their own nest by themselves, nobody else will come and build the home for the bird. So just like a bird, you have to build your own nest, and your food won't be sufficient, you will be having scanty of food, means you will have scarcity of food, and the food that you will get, that you have to keep on boarding and boarding and boarding all day over the dry wood, then only you will be able to get your food. Means the birds used to collect food from everywhere. Okay, they collect little food from everywhere. For that they have to work full day for collecting their food. And especially the woodpecker, what the woodpecker does, the woodpecker will be boarding means hitting, keep on hitting the hard wood of a tree continuously. After hitting, they are able to make a hole in that dry wood, and from that hole they able to collect little amount of food. Okay, so she was cursed by Saint Peter to be something like that. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. So what happened? After giving the curse, immediately the effect of the curse happened on her. She was taken inside the chimney, and never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker. So she was sucked inside the chimney, and she was thrown out of the chimney hole from the other side. But it was not that human woman, it was not that human creature, but when the creature popped out of the chimney from the other side, it was a woodpecker. Means the woman was transformed into a woodpecker, or she was changed to a bird because she was cursed into becoming a bird. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same. So this lady, she used to wear a red color cap, and that red color cap was the only thing that was left as her identity, because woodpecker also have that red cap over the head, so that remained. But all the rest of her clothes were burned black as coal in the flame. But as she was sucked inside that chimney, hot chimney, so the entire body has been blackened like the coal. Okay, she has been turned black. So woodpecker, the color of a woodpecker is black with a red head, as if wearing a red cap. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood where she lives in the tree till this very day, boring and boring for food. And even all the schoolboy nowadays in the country means in the village, every schoolboy has seen her staying in the wood. So she is not having any shelter, she stays in the tree, making her own shelter there. Somehow she is surviving there in the tree, where she lives in the trees till this day. Means now also, in the present time also, the woodpeckers live in the trees, they don't have their proper shelter, and still they had to bore for their food. Means they have to keep on hitting the trunk of the tree to collect some food, whatever they can. This was the story and this was the moral lesson. Means she was so selfish that she had a really bad ending. She was cursed because of her selfish nature. Okay. Okay, now after reading the poem, we will look into the literary devices that are used. So first, the literary device, I will be talking about the rhyming scheme, in what rhyme the poem is written. So rhyming scheme is in ABCB format. Okay, rhyming scheme is in ABCB format. How? You see the first line, the rhythm of the ending word, Northland, few, winter, through. So Northland, few. Northland is A, few is B. Winter is again C, through is again sounding like B. So few and through, these are having the similar rhythmic ending. So therefore these are referred to as B, whereas Northland, the means it is having the, I am marking it as A sound, and winter, another winter t sound, so it I am marking as C, whereas few and through I am having marking it as B, and they are having similar. Therefore it is A B C B rhythmic scheme. The next, as in every poem still now I have been telling, this is a very common literary device, that is alliteration. Okay, alliteration is the words starting with the same consonant sound. You see here. So for the alliteration, you can see in the second paragraph, sledges when it snow, sledges S and snow S. So repetition of the S sound in the same line. Then children look like bear cubs, C and C sound, funny furry, again F and F sound. So that is alliteration. Next I will be talking about the third literary device, that is repetition of the same word in the sentence, in the poem. So here there are many repetition. In the very first line you can see away away. Okay, 2 times the word has been used. So this is the example of the repetition. The next example, the next literary device, that is a simile. Something like, something as something. Okay, this sense has been used in the poem. Let us see where. See in the second stanza, and the children look like bear cubs. Children look like bear cubs. So children are compared with like word with bear cub. So this is one example of simile used in the poem. The next thing that is used, the next literary device, that is anaphora. Now what is anaphora? Anaphora, I have already mentioned that where the beginning words of some of the lines are similar, like where has been used in the first stanza second line beginning, it is starting with where. Again in the second stanza in the very first line it is again starting with where. So where is repeated so many times. So this is one example. Again in the 1 2 3 4 5 in the fifth stanza again there is a repetition, means anaphora of where, it is starting with where. Next, the next literary device is enjambment. Enjambment means what? Enjambment is one new word. So enjambment means running lines. Running lines means the in the poem there are means one sentence. For completing one sentence, lots of lines are used. Lots of poetic lines are used before completing one sentence. See here, in the very from the very means here every stanza is having this enjambment rule. Away away in the northland, comma, it is not ending, the sentence is not ending, where the hours of the day are few, again comma, so sentence is continuing. And the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. Now there is a punctuation mark which is making it a complete sentence. So 4 lines are used for stating one sentence. where still it is not completed, still it feels like continuing, where they harness the sweet reindeer to the sledges where it snows. So here again a pause. These are all semicolons. Semicolons means pause, commas means small pause, semicolons means bigger pause. Okay, but the sentence is not completing. Okay, the sentence, the real sentence is completing in the third stanza. If I tell you the tale, if I tell the tale to you. So here where the sentence is actually completing. So three stanza together is required for one single sentence. So this technique is called continuing lines after lines of a single sentence, that is called enjambment. Okay, so these are the literary devices. There are no more literary devices here. So I hope the poem is clear to you, and I will get back in my another class with the question answers of this poem. Till then, bye.